All right. Live? Yeah, we are live. All right. What the fuck is going on, everybody? This is your boy Dark Star Menace, and I am back with another episode of comic books, anime, and nerd shit. So today I got two people on my panel today. I got Maverick. Say what's up, Maverick.
Hey, how's it going?
And then I got my boy Johnny D on the line. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, today we're going to be talking about just one kind of big issue in comic books, and it's something that I've kind of noticed throughout the years. I'd say like maybe like the latter half of the century is that you take a lot of characters that are like established characters, like established like persons of color, and then you turn around and you take the character of like you take the identity of like a traditionally white superhero, for example, and you just you do a race swap essentially. And the biggest example of that is Falcon becoming Captain America. That's probably like the prime example of that. And just kind of with, tokenization and superheroes and stuff like that. So it begs the question, is that really an upgrade to the character, or is it more of a downgrade? And I kind of want to get y'all's thoughts on it. Maverick, you want to start us off?
Sure, I can start us up. So, in my opinion, there's right ways and there's wrong ways to do it, and both
Right.
of them have happened in comics. There's certain things like that are kind of non-starters. John Stewart being a perfect example. Green
Thank you.
Lantern Corps, intergalactic. Anybody can be a Green Lantern. John Stewart does not mean that Hal Jordan has to be erased. There's versions of it that have been done poorly initially and turned out really well. I think Miles Morales is a great example of something that started bad, because it was started off the idea that Peter Parker just died and was gone, and now here's Miles Morales. I think Marvel recovered really well in that. And then there's times where it's a good idea, or like there's good ideas with it, and it's just done poorly. And I feel like the MCU Falcon fits in that for me personally.
Yes.
And then there's times that it's just done bad, and that is Ironheart, in my opinion. But
oh my god, the less we talk about Ironheart, the better.
Oh, they're still moving forward with that show, though.
Jesus Christ, I can't stand the fucking character of Ironheart. I can't.
I've never met anybody who really can. Like,
Yeah.
I see the occasional woke online person, but like, I think in life I met one person who said I gave her a shot and she was okay, and that was like the nicest thing I've ever met anybody in person in the comic book store actually say.
Oh wow. Yeah, it was like I tried, but I just it was just I cringed too much trying to read Ironheart.
And
Like
I think one thing that annoyed me is like the character seemingly just comes out of left field. She's not related to Rhodey in any kind of way. She's just some random little black girl who just happened into the scene, and it's not. It seems like it's written by somebody who doesn't have any black friends with black children. You know,
exactly, bro. Dude, I mean, and that's just kind of what it is. And like, hey, yo, a random salute, brother, salute. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate the support, man. Yeah, that's another dude whose channel I watch. He's he's a big YouTuber. He's all good dude, good all around guy. Good dude. If y'all ever get a chance and y'all are on YouTube, support this guy. Dude is freaking awesome. But yeah, anyway, no, I have to agree, and that's like, and honestly, I think that's like some of the issues that I notice I have whenever like you have some people that try to write some of these like particularly black characters, and you notice that like you can tell that they don't really kind of understand what it's like to go through being in that position when they write some of the stories. You know what I'm saying?
right?
So you're
Yeah,
saying,
like,
what if Miles Morales was Thor?
oh my god, bro.
The
Not,
perfect
dude.
example of somebody
Jesus
trying to cater
Christ.
to an audience that has no idea what they are talking about.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna say, man. Normally, I don't get offended. Y'all know I got tough skin. But that fucking book,
Yo, Asgard is his hood, yo. Come on.
oh my dude, I literally wanted to freaking punch a random person just when I read all that shit. Cause that book pissed me off so badly, dude. I got triggered so badly from that book, man.
Well,
And I don't even get triggered. And I was just like, what the fuck is this shit?
and just to tab back to Ironheart just for a moment. I think one of the things that was
Please,
also
let's get
really
back.
interesting with that was like when you read those comic books, you see like the writers are really struggling with going away from Tony Stark. So Tony Stark is supposed to be dead, but then he becomes
Yeah.
an AI, and then he's working with the machines, and there's this whole like back and forth, and then all of a sudden, like you said, there's Ironheart, and it's like, oh, by the way, like I'm just super smart, and I'm going to MIT, and I can build an Iron Man suit, and I'm like, I don't even know how old she's supposed to be. Is she like 19 or something? She's in college, and she's like, by the way, like this dude that's been doing stuff forever, I can emulate it. And
and don't get it fucked up. None of these guys on this panel are even saying that black girls cannot be that smart and go to MIT and shit. Don't get that fucked up.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah,
like,
I'm saying, I'm just letting motherfuckers know so that way nobody gets trigger happy.
The problem becomes I think one of the cores for when this goes poorly, this transfer is like you look at Tony Stark's story throughout time, and he has like his devil in a bottle series where Rhodey takes over as Iron Man because Tony Stark is a dysfunctional alcoholic, and he is so deep that he cannot function in the suit. And the shows or the movies touch on it temporarily. But like that's an example of a time where there's a temporary swap of like a POC character coming in and stepping into that mantle that actually was really appropriate. Because Rhodey had experience with War Machine and stuff like that and stepped in to be Iron Man temporarily. And I think that was a really great arc because it had that weakness.
That was an awesome run.
And part of what happens with like some of these characters like Ironheart is sometimes they feel a little too perfect. And I feel like that's something that makes a lot of these comic book characters so endearing is that they have flaws and they overcome them and there's like struggles.
Exactly.
And when it's just like, by the way, this character is just awesome. Love them. Like, I feel like you don't attach to the character as much because we as human beings kind of suck a lot of times. So like we screw up a lot of stuff. So we relate to when our heroes also have struggles.
The only way you can really have the perfect person kind of thing is if it's a team or if they're an in and out character. Because like to me, Doc Samson is a little bit too perfect in a lot of things. You know, I obviously every story is going to be different, but because he's not the main character, he's just one of the random characters in the Hulk. Nobody gets too caught up on the fact that this guy is just brilliant and smart and good looking and kind hearted and just genuinely cares about the Hulk getting better and shit like that. But
he was kind-hearted. Was kind-hearted.
Was.
Yeah, because like they actually found out that Doc Samson actually had a split personality.
Yeah, they went that route with it.
Yes, they went Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde with him, dude.
I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude. It happened during the whole Red Hulk run.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. It was weird. But not going, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
No, but like I said, but even to that, like when the character starts to be focused on a little more, suddenly you have to put flaws in them. So you can have a perfect character, but that can't be your focus. They have to
Mm.
be kind of an in and out sort of thing, there for when you need them to move the story along. If they are the story, it's boring. Like I don't want to watch Mr. Rogers go to the grocery store.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of writing suffers from, especially when they do POC characters, is they want to try to have it to where, oh, this character is flawless. This character's flawless, doesn't make any mistakes. He's better than the original, and it's like it's not about whether that character is better than the original, because what makes the original character more badass is the fact that the original makes mistakes. He's not always perfect. He doesn't always make the right move, and if he makes if he makes a wrong move, he has to live with the consequences of those mistakes. You know what I mean?
No,
And that's part,
absolutely.
yeah, like that's part of developing growth when you're writing any character. Character's always gonna have his flaws. Character's always gonna make their mistakes, and it's like, how do they learn from it, and how do they bounce back from that mistake?
You
You
know,
know?
Miles, Miguel, and Peter are all flawed characters, but flawed in their own
Yes, yes,
way. And a
yeah,
lot of like Miguel O'Hara's issue is he's got an attitude problem,
yep.
in my opinion. And to me, like especially a younger me, that was my issue.
Mhm.
And so like I find more connection in having the attitude problem than I do in the fact that he's half Mexican, half Irish, the way I am. That's
Yeah,
cool, but that's not why I connect with the character. And
yeah.
uh, and so there's also that, and but yeah, it's like they have to be flawed. Every one of them has their own little issues that they're trying to get over. None of them are perfect.
Yeah, and like another character that I like Black Lightning, for example, I don't relate to the character because he's black. I like the character because sometimes he has to struggle with his morality, with whatever decision he has to make. Like, even if he has like certain criminals and he happens to know who the criminal is, he has to
Right.
struggle with whether does he does he bring this dude to justice? Does he try to reform this person? Is there any way to talk this person out of doing what the fuck they're gonna do? And if he can't do it, then that's when he has to make that decision. Be like, look, I gotta take you out. I gotta apprehend you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's what's relatable about Black Lightning for me, at least, because I mean, I've had times where I've had friends that were turning around and they wanted to make a lot of fucked up decisions, you know, and I had to make a choice. Do I freaking tell somebody? Do I talk my friend off this ledge? What do I do? And that's something that, like, that's what makes him relatable, is that a lot of people struggle with morality, you know?
Right. And in regards to like, because everything is about representation, but I think people sometimes have a too narrow an idea of representation. Because as important as it is for you to see yourself in a person of color or somebody who looks like you, it's just as important for you to see yourself in a character that's nothing like you at all, or to admire a character that's, because like one of my favorite characters growing up and to this day is War Machine. Ever since I
Oh,
found
fuck
out
yeah.
about War Machine, I never gave a fuck about Iron Man after that. Like when even even into the movies, I just never gave a shit. Like I get that he was the best actor possible for the role, and yes, he did wonderful, but I didn't cry when he died. I was like, whatever, bro. I was more upset when Rhodey lost his legs than I was when Iron Man lost his life.
Oh, for
And
sure. I
and
feel like War Machine's been ripped off in the MCU. Like, that dude has
Oh, dude.
gotten screwed. He deserves so much more than he has
he
gotten.
they better give it
Bad.
to him in Armor Wars. That's what I'm like. That better be his fucking redemption,
For
if you
real,
will.
dude. Because honestly, I've noticed it because I'm going back and watching a lot of the MCU movies with my girlfriend because she's never really watched them in chronological order. So we
Right.
just go back and kind of watch them. Even I've kind of noticed that they given War Machine the short end of the stick. Especially, I hate to say it, man. Especially on Avengers: Age of Ultron, they gave him the short end of the fucking stick.
Right.
Oh, for sure. That, like,
He was on
Rhodey's
crowd
story is
control
so,
essentially.
like,
Yeah,
awesome. Like, he has great stuff,
I mean,
and
come on, who?
it's nothing.
But I was gonna say, who wouldn't want to freaking wear an armor that's heavy as a tank but's got a shitload of fucking toys on it?
Well, and I think they've underplayed just how much firepower War Machine actually has, too. Like,
Yeah,
they've never made him look like he has more weapons than Iron Man. They've always made Iron Man look stronger than him, and that has always been kind of a thing for War Machine, is that dude is armed to the teeth. Like,
to be fair, the only movie they did that in was Endgame, but even then, still,
but it was so short. It's like,
yeah,
and I think one of the things too, like when you bring up, like when we talk about War Machine and we talk about some of these, like I know you talked about Black Panther and how Black Panther has really gotten screwed over in the MCU by having him killed.
Jesus Christ, yeah,
And what's really sad to me in that aspect is like these characters and representation has been treated like this zero-sum game where in order for there to be representation, you have to take something from the other side.
Yes.
And that's
And
not at
yeah,
all
yeah,
what this is. There is so
yeah.
much great content and so many great characters that you don't need to race swap in order to have representation. Get Static Shock out here, like again, like we've been revisiting old cartoons and stuff. Like Static Shock is a great character. Bring
Yeah,
him
Static-
out.
I heard. I mean, I heard rumors that they're trying to develop a Static movie, and Michael B. Jordan is going to produce it. But with the whole change with Warner Brothers, I don't know if it's even going to go through or not.
Yeah, with everything going on, because that's what I had heard, is that he was putting up a lot of his own money to really be the main producer, to be the one with a lot of creative control, or to put the right people in place. But it's like you said, with them not knowing what the hell they're doing over there, who knows what's going to happen? Which that's how it's been for the longest time. It's just now it's becoming all the more obvious. Like, do you remember when they announced that they were going to give Wonder Girl, the new Hispanic Wonder Girl, her own series, and then 3 weeks later they canceled that same series? They like announced it, hired an actor, and then canceled it.
Yep.
Within a 3-week period, it killed me.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, like, and it's kind of funny. It's fucked up, as I wasn't even really surprised that they were gonna cancel it at all. I really just wasn't surprised by it because, I mean, to be fair, the book sales weren't that good either. So it was like for them to take a chance on the show. But then again, they have been doing that shit where even if it doesn't sell, they still try to find some way to push it out to the masses.
Right.
And I think and that's something that a lot of comic book companies do. Case in point, Ms. Marvel.
See, I like Miss Marvel. What I don't like is Captain Marvel.
Oh, that's another one that we can add on that list too. Captain Marvel. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh man. And what I find really funny is Captain Marvel is like also a poster child for tokenization too. Because again, last I checked, wasn't the original Captain Marvel a white male with blonde hair? Granted, he was an alien, but still, last I checked, wasn't that who he was?
Yeah, the
Right.
original Captain. So there's been a couple different Captain Marvels. I think DC had one that was named Captain Marvel, and he got renamed something else because Marvel
Shazam.
did it. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
right.
Shazam.
Shazam. And so
Which,
yeah, the
that
original
annoyed me.
Captain Marvel was a white male and did turn into now a white female that Brie Larson
Yeah.
is. And
But to be fair, Marvel was the shit. He was the shit. To be fair.
oh yeah, there was a lot of great things with that character.
Yeah.
And I think especially the MCU Captain Marvel, I think falls into that same classification that we brought up earlier, where it's like the character is just written to be too perfect.
Yes.
And so it's like she knows everything. She can punch through Thanos's ship, like his flagship, just fly through it and hold her own while he's got the Infinity Gauntlet on. Like, why? Why does this character have to be so overwritten? And even like I feel like Brie Larson even brings that into interviews. Like if you've seen interviews with her and Chris Hemsworth,
Yes.
Yeah,
when it's like,
she is very annoying.
I can't fucking stand her, man. I can't fucking stand her.
And see, the Captain Marvel thing was such a storm of bad circumstance because, like, there's that era, that generation of people that come from the cartoons, and because they come from that cartoon, they wanted, Warbird. They wanted that early version of Carol Danvers. That ultimately succumbs to Rogue, and essentially everybody wants Rogue and not this character. So you're already fighting a whole generation of people who don't like this. Then there's that generation of people who, when the switch was made over in the comics, felt like this was like a Wonder Woman character being shoved down their throat. It was like, we're putting this person at the front and you have to take it. And so there's like a lot of resentment towards that character already. And then you get somebody who is just obnoxious to play the character. And so you're just bringing all these negative feelings in. And then the movie wasn't very good. Her acting was so robotic. And what's awful about that is that's not how she acted in Kong Skull Island. That's not how she acted in Endgame. But in her movie, everything was just like, it was weird, man. None of her facial expressions were natural. It always felt like somebody had a timer, and when that timer went off, that's when she would, know to change expression, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And so it was like the movie was bad, like not bad, but it was underwritten. She was overpowered. Her acting was robotic, all on top of this negative stuff that is already attached to the character. So it's like, yeah, that's why everybody hates the fucking characters. There's just too much negative wrapped around it, man.
Have you guys read Civil War 2 at all?
I think I watched the
I
comic
got
story.
I got halfway through that book and I couldn't finish it.
Because I did like the fact that they made Captain Marvel's perfection like her
Right.
flaw in that
Right.
series. And the
Really?
idea, because like she had that, because it was one of the Immortals, I believe, correct, that was able to see the future.
I think so.
She was using that to do kind of the Minority Report thing and start arresting people before they did anything, or like confronting people. And it leads to the death of major heroes in that arc. Like it leads to the death of Hulk.
Yeah.
And then they find out later on that those predictions aren't 100%.
Yep.
And the thing is, even when they find out that, she sticks with it. She's like, it doesn't matter.
I remember that.
It's good enough that this will work for us. And that's where we really started to see her flawed. And I agree. It's especially because it's like, we already don't like her, so it's nice to have a legitimate reason not to like her. Like, bitch, you got people killed.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and read it now. Because like I got halfway through it. It was just the part when the whole prediction thing, and when they killed off Hulk, I stopped reading it.
Nah, don't read it. Just go watch Comic Story.
Yeah, you can get the gist out of a video. I'm sure somebody's made a great video.
Hey, I do Comic Story and too. I love that fucking channel. I do it as a last resort, or if like if I literally do not have time, then I'll do it. But I just already purchased Marvel Unlimited, so I'm doing a lot of back reading.
So you might as well.
Yeah,
exactly. Already read it.
Exactly.
See, I don't read a lot of Marvel.
Yeah. I got the DC one too. DC Infinite. The only thing I don't like. Hold on a sec. I gotta do something super duper quick. I'll be right back. Hang on, okay? Y'all.
But yeah, I don't read a lot of Marvel. That's why I'm always doing the Comic Story.
So I really enjoyed Civil War 1. So I was excited when Civil War 2 came out. I didn't like Civil War 2 initially, but as it went, it kind of grew on me. And I think it ended up with a decent, well-rounded, story for just a side story.
I'm gonna have to pick up after the whole Hulk part, because now that you're kind of overselling me on it, so now I'm gonna have to go and pick up after they killed off Hulk.
And if you can't get those minutes of your life back, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Nah, it's all good. It's all good, man. I'm not that much of an asshole. Chill, fuck out.
So I think one thing that it might be good to get back on too is like I brought up Miles Morales earlier as a
Yeah,
character that started out kind of poor because in his first initial launch they had, you know, Peter Parker dies and Miles just kind of takes over as being Spider-Man and does his own thing because
yeah,
Peter Parker's dead. But
yeah,
eventually, I think one of the ways that Marvel redeemed this is when the universes merged. They made it so because Miles was newer to the game and everything, Miles kind of took over that, you know, like New York as like I'm going to help protect New York and do the things that Spider-Man originally was doing because Spider-Man is now super experienced. He's fought multiple like galaxy level threats with the Avengers and everything else. So Spider-Man, Peter Parker is kind of taken up the mantle of I do the big things and you are learning and growing in your own character. And I think that was a much more redeeming way to have a character um that's a POC basically take up that mantle, have a very similar skill set, but still be their own character.
yeah. And honestly, and that's like something that's like what I think like an example is like a good writing. If you're gonna do like a POC character, like that's just how I look at it. Like that is if you're gonna don't make it to where you're making the POC character shit on the original character. You know what I mean?
Well, and I
Like
think
you can.
everybody kind of like I don't know about you guys. I thought Into the Spider-Verse was done really, really well.
No, I
Um,
agree. Yeah,
I thought like that was a good example of blending. And even though his original Peter Parker died, like he still had the Peter Parker from the other universe, which is similar to the comic book story, just in an
yep.
accelerated manner. Uh, help show him the ropes and help teach him. And like Miles does have like his stuff that he's working through. Like he's scared. He gets anxious. He can't stop sticking to things. Like he's growing and learning and developing as a character the whole time. And I think that's what makes him an endearing character and a character that's lovable by pretty much anybody. Like I don't know anybody who's like, I really hate Miles Morales.
Oh, I've heard a couple people say that, but I mean, personally,
Yeah, it's rare.
like, yeah. But tell me if you think this is a fair assessment when it comes to Miles Morales. When he's portrayed in like movies or in the video games, they do a way better job fleshing the character out compared to the comic book. Like the writing is a lot better. And tell me if you agree with that sentiment.
I don't read enough Marvel to be able to comment on that.
I have not read as much of the recent stuff, but I would say that like on like from initial exposure, like if you haven't read anything or whatever, I do think that like Into the Spider-Verse and the game do a really good job of kind of establishing that character more. But I think
But
that's because they had a better foundation to work off because the
yeah,
comic
Yeah,
has
that's
recovered
what I think too.
itself.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've watched the movie and then I've even played the video game, and of course I've read the books with Miles Morales. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I think the video game does a way better job with handling Miles. Like if you wanted a blueprint of how to do, like if you were to make a live action Miles Morales movie, that video game would be the blueprint for how to do it.
But I think
Because
there's also a certain amount that has to be talked about. When we talk about that, I think we also have to talk about the fact that Sony has been doing a much better job in general with some of the Spider-Man IP stuff, especially the video games.
facts,
Like
facts.
definitely
so
not with Morbius.
No,
Oh no,
no.
let's
So
be
Morbius,
no.
we don't talk. We don't talk about Morbius. Morbius
No,
is.
we don't talk about Morbius on this channel. No, no, we don't talk about Morbius.
But
No,
and I
I didn't
will
even
say,
fucking watch
you
the
know
movie
what?
and it looked like shit.
Amazing Spider-Man also really fucked up some stuff for me. Like I did not identify like that wasn't my Peter Parker. I love Andrew Garfield as an actor. I think he has done some really good stuff. I think the most recent No Way Home with him in it was really, really good. Like I thought how his character developed and changed and came into No Way Home was great. But skater punk Peter Parker was not like I was like, what did they do with Peter Parker here?
I don't know. I think it's like they were trying to make it more modern and slightly blend in a little bit of Ultimate Spider-Man, but it just didn't mesh well. That's my assessment of it. But if I'm gonna be 100% honest, I feel like the Flash Thompson in Ultimate Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man was probably the best version of Flash Thompson, in my opinion.
I don't even want to talk about stuff involving Venom and Spider-Man
Well,
3.
I'm
I would rather.
funny thing is, I'm one of the few people you're ever gonna meet who actually likes the new Flash Thompson. The movie one, the obnoxious fucking kid. I actually liked his thing. The reason is like, these things are supposed to be a representation of real life, right? And the thing is the jock bully to me is a little outdated. That was like ever since the age of no pass, no play. Things are different. A lot of the guys who were jocks were in the advanced placement classes right next to me, getting better grades than me. They weren't
Yeah.
trying to shove me in a locker. The bullies I went to school with were really the gang members. So like it's a lot more that world than the thing. And so it's like there comes a point where do we really need to keep uh perpetuating the idea of the bully jock when some of these guys go off and join the army. They become great parents who teach those skills onto their little league team. They're not all villains like this. And so I think there comes a point where it's like the jock needs his redemption arc a little bit. So I want to see like a jock character kind of, or maybe a character that already exists, like Luke Cage, seeing him on the football field as a younger man, stuff like that, to show that, to get rid of that stereotype, but also Flash Thompson still needs to be against Peter. So I felt like going from a bully to just an obnoxious little rich shit made sense. He's still a thorn in Peter's side. He's still the bane of his high school existence, but he's not a bully the same way that it was. And I just think that works for the modern day, uh, for that reason. So I thought to sort of make him, how do you say, like in Japan, it's not all about bullies. It's always rivals. Every anime you watch, it's this person's this rival, this person's this rival, and like Gary and Ash always have a point where they can kind of come together and agree on something. Same thing with Goku and Vegeta, and so on and so forth. Um,
Naruto and Sasuke.
yeah, everybody has these rivals, and so I like the idea of taking this dynamic and meshing it from a bully thing into a rival thing, because the rival thing can gradually form into a partnership. And I think Agent Venom and Spider-Man would have been a cool little team up from time to time. The issue, of course, is that the direction they took it, they removed all that momentum, all the ability for him to build up and become Agent Venom and start to have his redemption arc. Because like, if you remember at the end of the second movie, when like his parents aren't there and they just don't give a shit about him, and there's that moment where you finally feel for this character and he starts to seem human and you start to understand why he lashes out at the world. That to me was the first step towards him becoming something better. But with this movie, they just like swept all that under the rug. And so it really sucks because I enjoyed that character and they took it from me.
Hey,
I'm
man.
probably the only one who enjoyed it. I understand why people didn't, but I just didn't agree with them.
One of the things that I
Sure.
personally hate in a lot of movies is when side characters don't get that development. Like you see
Bro,
so
who you telling
many
me?
animes and cartoons and comics and everything else where like these side characters are just kind of there. And I really feel like that's kind of tying back into something that we were talking about earlier. I feel like that's really kind of happened with Rhodey is Rhodey in the
Yeah.
MCU just never got to really push and develop a whole lot. Like he has moments like where they're like, okay, we're gonna highlight him for 10 minutes, and then he goes back to being like just there. And
Yeah, you know what? I've kind of noticed that too, man. Rhodey's really not a fleshed out character in the MCU. I've kind of noticed that.
The only kind of development we see is when he's talking to Sam in Falcon Winter Soldier, and that's all about developing Sam's character, not his.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, and that's just for me. I just feel like it's a little problematic too because I mean, Rhodey's been around. He's been there from the beginning.
Right.
So it's like, why the fuck are we not elevating this character that's been there since the beginning of the MCU, since the MCU was even incepted?
right before the MCU was even a big thing, because I mean, realistically,
this is before
Iron Man is what started the momentum, and Rhodey was there right away.
Exactly.
Well, fuck, his first solo comic book came out in what, 92, something like that.
Yeah, you know what? I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
I'm about to dig it out and find out.
Yeah, I gotta find. You know what? I might be able to find it on the Marvel Unlimited. I might go back and add that to my list. Cause that cover was badass. I remember the cover because it was like it was supposed to say Iron Man, and they crossed out the Iron Man out on the freaking logo, and it's written in red War Machine, and he's like pretty much guns ready to fucking go. I remember that fucking cover. That shit was badass.
See, I have the crappier cover because there's a cover that has it's one of those where some of it's holographic, you know what I mean?
Oh, like a variant cover?
Yeah, and but there's also one where it's the same thing, but it's not all the holographic stuff. And unfortunately, I have the non-holographic, but I eventually want to get the better one.
That was the 90s, man. The 90s was all about the holographic covers, man. And then, oh, shit. Damn it, I had something and I lost it. Y'all keep going. It'll come back to me in a second.
So one thing I want to get your guys' opinion. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I felt
one.
See, I felt like how it was handed off, like the shield handoff. I appreciated this.
Oh, here we go.
The shield handoff.
Oh boy, here we go.
Machine 3, War Machine 1. Okay, what year?
I didn't like everything on how the show handled everything. Like I felt like there were great parts of the show, but then there were other parts of the show that were like forced way too hard. So, like, what is your guys' opinion on the show?
No, I have to agree. It was 1994. Okay.
Yes. But go ahead.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that, Maverick. As far as like how the show, it was just I don't know, man. For me, the one thing that really made me cringe was the part when Falcon started lecturing all the fucking senators and stuff. That shit made me fucking cringe. Because I mean,
100%. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, even
my question was, like, was it necessary?
Well,
was it necessary?
But the other part is like, it wasn't even like a lecture. Like, it was more of like, he's like, do better, Senator. But like, let's be real. any government in the MCU was totally messed up by the snap. Like, you have people that randomly come back 5 years later. Like, if I'm a government official during the time the snap happens, I'm sitting there going, well, crap, the Avengers lost. Our heroes lost at their best opportunity to win. Like, Thanos doesn't get any weaker. The only reason Thanos as a character got weaker was because he elected to destroy the Infinity Gauntlet, and none of them even knew that had happened.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just...
So then when everybody shows up 5 years later, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, by the way, all these people are back. You have the single largest humanitarian crisis that has like ever occurred.
For real. And that's why I was like, when he said do better, I'm like, motherfucker, what the fuck are you talking about? You got a bunch of people that are like basically displaced. They have no place to fucking go because they came back from the fucking snap. Their house is literally being taken, literally has someone else living in it because they were assumed to be dead. Let's see, they have no fucking job. They have no way to really, so therefore they have no way to make any money to get freaking be able to get any type of house, any type of food or anything like that. What else is there? And then don't even get me started if they're gonna talk about homeless shelters and shit, because last I checked in the show, they were saying a lot of those shelters were already overpopulated. So it's like you have all this shit piling on top of each other not even within a matter of a year. Like, it's instantaneous. So how can you be like, do better when the problem is just being laid, when all the shit's being placed right at your front doorstep?
Well, I also think maybe you guys are getting too caught up in making it 100% attached to the show, because to me that speech really didn't have to do with the show. That is the moment where they stop talking to each other and start talking to the audience. That everything that speech worked out, it was really about speaking on a lot of the things that are going on with our actual government in our actual world. That the whole thing was an allegory speech that really didn't have anything to do with the show. So when I watch it, I don't take it in terms of the show, as weird as that is to say, is because I understand, like, at that point, artistically speaking, they're not talking to the senator, they're talking to us. And so that's how I've always taken that speech. And I do see where people can find it a little cringy, but I also see where because it was the director and Anthony Mackie worked together on that speech, and there was something where he said, I don't want anything in there that you don't agree with. That every word of that has to be something that's coming from Anthony Mackie. And
yeah, in Fact House, man, Thanos really does stay on the fuck shit. Don't even get me started on Thanos. The less we talk about, man, if we start talking about Thanos, we'll be here all day.
So, but the thing is, like, the show is my absolute favorite out of all the shows. And I say that even though it disappointed me in a lot of ways, because, like, I wanted to see Zemo be properly fucking evil. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wanted to see, one of my very first comic books ever, I bought because it said Cage, and I thought they were going to be in a cage. I didn't realize the main character's name was Luke Cage. But it said Cage, and there was like this dude in a leather jacket, and like he looked like he was getting ready to fuck some people up. And there was this black suited Captain America, and I just thought it was the coolest cover, and that's why I bought it. Right? So, like, I fucking loved US. So I loved US Agent. So I wanted him to be done right. I wanted him to be done up and made badass and shit like that. And he was instead turned out to be this very flawed character. So it really sucked, because I was like, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, but I got the one thing that mattered to me, which was make the audience accept Sam as Captain America, because in the comic books, to me, it made sense. For one, it's like there had already been a girl Captain America in 2099. Bucky had already been Captain America. There was Kid Captain America in the Avengers cartoon one, the Young Avengers cartoon, whatever it's called.
Oh,
And
you're talking about Patriot, yeah.
yeah, and
I mean, yeah. And by the way, his character was in the show. You know that, right?
that character was.
Yeah, Patriot was in the show. You remember whenever Sam went to go visit Isaiah Bradley, and there was that kid that showed up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Patriot. That was Eli Bradley. That was his son. That was his grandson.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Damn, you just derailed me. I forgot where I was going.
Yeah, sorry about that, bro. Sorry about that.
But like, so in the comic books, to me, Sam was always his less of a sidekick and more of a partner. You know what I mean? And to me, when the captain steps down, who takes over? The lieutenant. So Sam stepping into that position was very natural for the comics. But over here in the movies, it was really too much too soon. We hadn't had time in the comics. We had time to learn who Sam was as Falcon and know who this character is before he became something else. Versus people in the movies didn't really have that, and that's what I felt cheated on. Is you need to know who Sam is before you can accept Sam as Cap. And to me, that's what the series gave us. It was that bridge that finally made us willing to accept a new Captain America. And that was the main thing I wanted from the show, is to do what they did in the comics, which is make it fit, make it work.
Yeah.
And because they've done that, like, I'm very excited for the 4th Captain America movie. There's never been a bad Captain America movie, and I'm holding out hopes that that's going to stay true.
See, and
no, you're right about that. There really hasn't been a bad Captain America movie. Now that I'm really going back and thinking about that.
Hold on. Let me amend that. There's not been a bad MCU Captain America movie, because those
No, we're not talking about that. No, don't bring it up. Don't you dare. If you do it, I'm going to fucking punch you through this fucking screen, dude. Don't you bring that movie up.
I got it on DVD downstairs.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Just go ahead and bring it up. Go for it. Just, you might as well. Go for it.
With the helmet. With just the regular motorcycle helmet.
Oh my god.
So to amend myself, there's never been a bad Captain America movie in the MCU.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
And I actually was wholeheartedly on board for Sam to take up the shield, personally. Like, I didn't care that they were having Sam take up the shield, and I do like a lot of the things that they did in terms of, like, I like how Sam came in and was like, I'm not sure I deserve these shoes or whatever. Like, these boots are big boots to fill. I am nervous about this. Like, that is understandable. That was a great character thing, and how he comes into that and finally being like, I don't have to be that Captain America. I just have to be the best version of my Captain America, kind of thing. Like, I love that type of character development, but like, there were certain scenes that just really drove me nuts. Like the fact that these random cops show up and are like, "Is he bothering you?"
Oh my god, that scene was cringe.
I was like, "Are you telling me these guys don't recognize one of the greatest heroes in this entire world?" Like,
yeah, that's kind of where I was like very cringing too, because I'm kind of like, are we fucking serious right now? All right, like, wait, please. Like, at first I was like, dude, please tell me this is a practical joke right now. Please tell me this is like a meme or something.
And I don't even want to say this, like, I'm against all like calls to what might be going on in the public or whatever, but like, and like the idea that he goes to visit Isaiah Bradley, and Isaiah Bradley is like, look, the government did some fuck shit to me, and they experimented on me, and it was bullshit.
For real, bro.
Like,
yeah,
that shit totally would have happened in our history, like 1,000%. Stuff like that. Like, we have shit that has happened in our history, and I don't think ignoring that is healthy. Like, but at the same time, it's like, I wanted a little more focus on Falcon and a little less focus on his race, because
Thank
the
you.
Falcon
Thank
stands
you.
on his own as a character, and you don't
Thank
need to use
you.
the crutch of race to develop his character and to
You
have his
said it
character
before I
expand.
did. Dude, thank you. Cause like that was kind of my biggest issue with the show is like, why are we focusing so much on Falcon's race, but not focusing on Falcon as a hero? And you know what? When you brought that whole thing in perspective, when you were talking about when Falcon was saying, you know, he didn't feel like he was the right person for the job, that's kind of one of those things when it comes. That's one of the things for me that I think really made it stand out compared to the comic book. Like it really made it stand out a lot because he was trying. Basically, he was trying to figure out more. Is this the right thing? You know, am I really worthy of taking up this dude's shield? You know what I mean? He was actually questioning himself, and you know, and for me, I think that's how you build a good story. That's how you build a good internal struggle. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when you make movies or any type of comic book and you have an internal struggle like that, that's what makes a story a lot more compelling.
Well, and when you look at like Steve Rogers as a character, like Steve Rogers is kind of like, in terms of morality, like the Superman of
Yeah.
the MCU
I mean,
and
Yeah.
just
he
Marvel
was
in
worthy
general.
after all.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to be this ultra altruistic, look at me, I do everything perfect, and I'm the light of the world, blah, blah, blah type character. And so now Sam's going, like, I'm just a human being. Like, I'm not a super soldier. I'm not like this, like I have my flaws, and he struggles to come to terms with that, and eventually realizes that, like, no, I am worthy of this mantle. And like
Yeah.
that is a solid development, a solid character development, and I did love that aspect of the show.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of what I enjoyed about it, like, 'cause a lot of what y'all hate is actually what I liked because to me, there were so many things in there that echoed the comment sections online. Like when you go in, you always see anytime there's a race change, there's I'm a big believer in like the four-man argument, which is you can have four people at a table. This half agrees with the change, this half disagrees, but the people whose opinions I respect are on opposite corners because there's always that one person who they're just in favor of it because it's time because um, just some woke generic bullshit. And then there's another
Yeah.
people who, no matter how great of a decision it is, no matter how brilliant it is, they're just on some racist tangent that they're trying to hide as being non-racist, but we can all see clear what it is type thing. So
Yeah. Some of those
you,
people, that's obviously through that.
but it's also like there's are people who have legitimate reasons for feeling how they feel. Um, you know, you and I, as a for instance, disagree heavily on Iceman being made gay. You hate it. I loved it. But I fully respect your opinion because I understand your
Yeah.
thoughts and emotions behind it, just like you understand mine, even if we don't agree. And
Exactly. Yeah.
just like there are people who agree with me who just annoy the crap out of me because they're agreeing for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
And
and honestly, that's exactly why I brought you on because I mean, with me, you and me, we have things we agree with, we have things we disagree with, but at the end of the day, we can do it respectfully and still talk about it.
right. And
Yeah,
so to me though, with the show, they were addressing a lot of those racial conversations that were going to happen regardless. And there's always that one white person who comes in and says um, that no self-respecting black person would accept this, and they took that line and they turned it up on its head and they put it in the mouth of a black man for whom though it actually rings true instead of it just being this hollow racist kind of echoey thing. It now rings true coming out of this man's mouth, but
yeah,
Sam sort of overcomes it and proves to him, no, I can do this my way. I can be wrong. I can prove you wrong while still you not being wrong, kind of thing. And it was just like all those racist conversations that were going to happen online, they took it and they mixed it into the show. And that's what I liked is there was so much shit that they addressed before the toxic fans could even get to it.
When it goes off, I'll get it. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was talking to my girlfriend, but go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
So I
But-
definitely like I understand where you're coming from and that, and like my feeling is I feel like they gave too much attention to those just ignorant statements that were going to happen, because let's be real, no matter how much they try to address like the really ignorant stuff, that's
Yeah,
still going to happen. So like how much attention do you really like, how much energy and effort do you put into trying to counter something that's going to happen regardless versus really giving, in my opinion, Sam the love that he deserves directly?
Well, also too, I think that the movie, or not the movie, but the show is speaking beyond just the show. Like this was the perfect frame for it, but like you can take those same kind of lessons and things and apply it equal and across the board to any other movie, show, cartoon, comic book, novel, video game. You can take those same things and kind of reapply it. So I like it because I think it's a message that's going to hold together 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I think it's one of those things that's going to stay relevant as time goes on. And also, I think it sets up what you're talking about, because when the New World Order finally comes out, like we're already past all that bullshit. Like we're going to step into an arena where this is Captain America. Let's go. So I do think Sam is going to get his love and his due and all that. I just think it's like this was a bridge to get us there.
And see, I think that's, so you said something in there that I guess personally might be where there's some disagreement, and I think something that makes a lot of sense is like you think, like you explain that you feel like this will age very well, and
Right.
I feel like there's a point where some of that story stuff isn't going to age as well. Now, is racism and things like that going to go away? No, that's
no,
going to be
fuck no, it's
something
not gonna go away.
that's going to be something that exists for all time. But I think that in terms of it, like I feel like eventually, like that's something that is going to ring less with the overwhelming majority of people.
Yeah, because I mean, it's already kind of getting to the point where like people just kind of they just want to watch an entertaining movie or they want an entertaining comic book. You know what I mean? Like I get, a lot of things with comic books. Sometimes a lot of times they do reflect real life, but the issue is a lot of times and I'll give you an example when in comic books when they bring in political issues, it's always seen from one side. It's not from both sides, both perspectives. It's always one sided. Hence why a lot of people have just stopped reading comic books altogether because it's just everything is just one sided. You're not seeing it from both sides of the fence. You know what I mean? And I remember back when I used to read a lot of comic books, and especially when they talked on a lot of political and social issues, it was always two-sided. It wasn't just you see one side from this side and this side. It's absolute. It's the freaking truth. That's what it is. Fuck you if you don't agree with me. You know what I mean? It was never that type of shit. And that's where a lot of the writing has been suffering. Just in general with just comic books.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm speaking more in regards to like the exact conversation we're having, which is in regards to racial reassignment. Like the show tackles a lot of those talking points about racial reassignment. It's like those are the ones that I think are going to be still happening down the lines. Because like, what's one of the earliest ones you can think of? I can think of like I think Kingpin being made black in that Ben Affleck Daredevil. It's one of the earliest ones I can remember, and that's when people started talking about, oh, it's not supposed to be this way. This isn't accurate, and that conversation has been happening since then. And I think a few years from now, when they come out with a gay gargoyle, it's the conversation is going to start all over again. And you can always you can always look to this show and just take these generic talking points that they integrated into the show and use that to dismiss generic talking points. It's like there's no emotion behind what you're saying. You're just being an ass.
And I will say this: a lot of times, my issue with some of the race swapping is like when it's not organic.
Right.
Oh, and I think that's kind of been
That
the core
that
of like our whole conversation is at the end
yeah
of the day, like if you write it well and you don't have to delete a character to make space for this character and basically
mm,
transplant their personality, it's fine. Like a lot of
yeah
times it's okay.
yeah.
Right.
You
But
got it.
I'll tell you what I think was the absolute worst one I've ever seen.
Go ahead, lay it on me,
For Bliss from the Powerpuff Girls.
bro.
And
I
is
don't know
there
why.
any reason? Is there any reason they needed to draw a kindergartner with curvaceous hips?
Jesus Christ, I don't even want to talk.
I would say
Man,
I don't think I've followed
no, it's
I
not that.
watched
Like,
Powerpuff as like I had times where I watched it as like a kid, but I have never heard of Bliss.
it was
Now
on
that
the
I
new.
am
It was on the second iteration of Powerpuff Girls, which,
Third,
by the way, oh
third
yeah, because they
iteration.
had the anime and then they had that one. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is the third iteration. You're right
And
because the
and
original.
but yeah,
Yeah,
one of the major problems is like they introduced her like very shortly in, so it's like you could have just opened the show with 4 Powerpuff Girls. You didn't have to shoehorn her in later. And then again, the main issue is she's supposed to be the same age as the other girls, but they drew her with an ass. And it's like, what the fuck kind of racist shit is this that you're drawing little black girls with booty? Like, what the fuck is
yeah.
this? She should have
That's
looked
why I stopped. I
identical.
was just.
so
I.
yeah, you win. You win. I just
I,
looked it up quick because
I
I had to
yeah.
and oh
It's
I
it's
word.
I.
genuinely offensive. It's
Dude.
genuinely offensive.
Dude, that shit was offensive in more ways than fucking one. Like, what? I saw that shit. I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
I was more offended by that than I was by cuties.
Oh my god. Damn. Damn. That's
well, this one goes to
dude.
11.
Yeah, that already tipped my flag went from red to fucking crimson, bro. God damn.
Oh god. We went to cuties now. It's all conversation pieces
That
turned to cuties.
that fucking escalated really, really fucking quick. God damn. Oh my god. All right, oh my god, now I gotta bring it back in. All right, so here's a question here's something that's kind of that I've kind of been pondering for a while. Kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on it real quick. How do y'all feel about when they do like multiverse versions of characters and they essentially race swap the character? Do you feel like sometimes the multiverse is used as a cop out to race swap characters?
I think 100% yes. I think a lot of times it's lazy writing, in my opinion. It's like I get some of the what if stuff. Like some of the what if stuff can be interesting, but when it's just purely to just change the color of paint they use for a character, like, and just change how they talk a little bit, I personally feel like that's lazy writing. Like,
Yeah.
There's better stories to be told than just, by the way, we just changed this and we switched it from 616 or whatever to some other universe and now we're calling it this.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Johnny?
Well, see, for me, a lot of times I would prefer it to be some kind of elseworld, otherworld thing, just because when they do it in the primary universe, so many times it's in bad taste.
Yes.
And versus if you're going into a whole new world, to me, there's no rules. And because there's no rules, do whatever the fuck you want. And I think a great example of somebody doing it well is when Bruce Timm did Gods and Monsters, where
Yes, that was really good. That was actually a very good. That was a good movie.
and that's got Hispanic, sort of Hispanic. He was Superman, and it's funny too because because I'm half Mexican, half white, but I look white. It's like I was raised Mexican, but at the same time, I still don't always feel it. Like I was never 100% accepted. I was always considered the white boy, and so in a lot of ways, him being an alien amongst them, so even though he was raised by them and he's one of them, he still has that level of separation. I felt that a little personally. And so there's stuff like that when it's done well. I think when they made the original um, Green Lantern gay, I think that was better than taking and making Hal Jordan gay or making Kyle Rayner gay. I felt that if you want to explore shit like that, I'd rather you do it in something that doesn't matter.
And I will 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Point. Like
Yeah.
I 1,000% agree that feeling the waters out in a side universe and a side story is 1,000% better than just hijacking the main and injecting something really jarring into the main timeline.
Actually, they did just recently inject. They actually did make the Alan Scott Green Lantern gay in the main continuity. You know that, right?
Well, see, I wasn't even because in most of the stuff I'm familiar with, he's usually not a part of the main continuity.
Gotcha.
Like Jay always is, because Alan, Barry's always fucking up timelines, so of course Jay Garrick's going to get in there.
Bro.
But because Alan Scott is connected to the Green, like in the real world, I associate him closer with Swamp Thing than I do with the Lantern Corps.
Yeah, which makes sense. Well, yeah, because I know and I know the Earth 2 book, yeah, he was associated with the Green. Because I know the original Green Lantern, he had the Starheart, which they found a way to shoehorn it to where basically the Starheart was some type of fragment or type of artifact that was created by the Guardians of the Universe, and essentially he was they made him an honorary member of the Green Lantern Corps, even though he is and he isn't. But yeah, you know how that shit goes.
Right.
But yeah, but they actually made it to where like he was gay and he was in the closet, which I mean, I don't really care for that too much. I don't think that's like one of those things that was essentially a bad thing, because it's not like this dude was like, and I hate bringing up Iceman. I hate bringing him up. It's not like he was Iceman and like he was going around messing around with a bunch of women and he was known for it. And then they just essentially just made him gay for no reason, which, by the way, that writer, I'm going to be honest, I think she did it out of spite. But either way, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, they made it to where his character was gay, which I didn't have an issue with it, because, that was him, basically coming out, because that's something that could reflect in real life. But it is what it is with that character. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, here's my question to both of you guys. What do you think about Gay Robin?
My personal opinion on a lot of this is like, I don't necessarily care what somebody's sexuality is. However, I feel like there's an unhealthy focus on sexuality in fictional characters, because I rarely read a comic book and actually I'm like, I really want to know who this person is interested in, especially in some of the younger characters. Like, I feel like that's even a little more awkward to me, because I don't want to sit there and focus on a teenager, young adult's sexuality. Personally, that's where I'm at least.
Yeah. Now, as far as with Gay Robin, oh geez. Ooh. Again, you already know I got no issue with anybody who's gay, whatever, anything like that. My
Right.
issue is the fact that like it happened out of left field, just out of nowhere. It wasn't organic. It was just shoehorned in there out of nowhere.
I mean, because like when he came back from the dead, as they always do, first thing he did was run home to his girlfriend. First thing
Y-
he did.
Yeah, and then out of nowhere, he wants to start dating dudes. And this is kind of my thing with that is that they already had like he already has an established relationship with Stephanie Brown, on again, off
Right.
again girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Right.
And let's just keep it real. Ever since Robin was created, Stephanie Brown was always the one. She
Well,
was
that
always that one for him.
and
Like
also I think it's a distasteful cliche to the whole
yeah,
Batman and Robin being gay thing. It's like
exactly. That's where I was gonna go with that. That's exactly where I was gonna go with that.
yeah, it's just like no, dude. It's like a
Yeah,
person can raise because like my son is not my actual son, but he's my son, right? And it's
yeah.
like I can take him under my wing and raise him right, and there doesn't need to be anything creepy about that. So when everybody keeps trying to make Robin gay, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you that you look at a man trying to
Like,
raise his
dude,
son and that this is what you see?
yeah, bro, I get real annoyed with that. Like, I always try to throw that whole gay trope with Batman and Robin and try to associate, and it's kind of like, first off, no, he just adopted his kid because his kid's parents were fucking killed, and the kid needed a place to fucking stay. Somebody needed to watch over the kid, so he said, "You know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna take care of this kid because he's going through the same trauma I went through." You
Yeah,
know?
to
Go ahead.
clarify, he's talking about the first Robin. To anybody who may be listening, he's talking about the first Robin because I
Thank
think
you.
Tim Drake's parents were still alive, but it's still the idea of taking a child under your wing
Yeah,
and
thank you,
and
man.
building them up. But continue.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that for me. Thank you for clarifying that. All right, and then it's like, yeah, the fact that like, you're thinking he wants to do some type of creep shit.
Yeah,
Like, what the fuck, man? Like the fact that people even think that already goes to show automatically how what's on half y'all motherfuckers fucking brains when y'all see that shit. Like, let's keep that a buck. You know, dude,
and
again.
this happened to me at the store, and I think you're gonna love this. I was walking
Okay.
by, and they had the triple pack of the pops, where it's the rainbow colored poison ivy on one side, Harley Quinn on the other, and smack dab in the middle is Robin. And I'm walking by, and these two girls are
What
talking.
the
I'm
what the
walking
fuck, are you
by.
serious?
Yeah, this is an actual thing. It's a triple pack. It was like a gay pride thing, and they got the two characters that we know are gay or bi, but then they just got through shoehorning bi Robin in there like a month after it happened. Like they were already rolling out the merchandise, but it's up there on the shelf, right? And these two girls are there, and I can overhear them talking, and the more learned nerd is informing the lesser one, and this is what she says. You're gonna love this. She goes, "Oh yeah, in certain storylines, Dick
Salute
Grayson
to
is gay."
Aubrey.
She says, "In certain storylines, Dick Grayson is gay," and I wanted so bad to snap around and fucking correct her as to what Robin that was. But it goes to show you that that's who they're making these decisions for. They're not making them for the people like us who buy the books and read them. They're making it for casual people who can't even tell one Robin from the other.
And then we wonder why, and then Marvel and DC wonder why their book sales are going down the fucking toilet
Dude,
Right.
because
Well,
you're
and the
trying to
problem
cater.
is,
Go
oh, go
ahead,
ahead.
man.
Sorry. I was going to
Hold
say
on,
the problem is too is like if you sit there and you go, I feel like this is lazy writing or whatever. Like, I feel like this was just shoehorned in. You're immediately labeled as a bigot of some form, and
right.
it's like
dude. Yeah,
it's like, have you met have you met
Jesus
Darkstar?
Christ,
Have you
bro.
talked to
Oh my
Darkstar
God.
ever? Do you know anything about him? Because this is absolutely not what he is about. Like,
Yeah, bro. Okay, yeah, dude, that's gonna bring me to a story. I talked about it the other night. I think it was last night. I did a show on it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give y'all context of what the fuck happened. So, you know how we're on those little Facebook groups with like, Marvel, DC, the comic book groups. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about?
Yeah.
So yeah, I see this little post about the Supergirl movie getting canceled, right? And I'm reading the comments and stuff because I was gonna write a comment on it, but I see a comment where one dude was talking about something about the representation with the Latina character, having a Latina Supergirl is representation, and one dude came in there and said that no one really cares for a race swapped character. No one wants a race swapped character. Like if you're gonna do like a character like that, just create an original character. No one really is going to pay to watch a race swap Supergirl. And automatically when that dude said that, he got called a fucking racist, a fucking sexist, bigot. Normally, like, I'm whatever about that shit, but when you got like 4 or 5 people dragging somebody for saying nothing wrong, I had to fucking come in, put my fucking Superman cape on, and freaking be like, look, that dude didn't say shit wrong. No one is paying to watch a race swap Supergirl. People are getting tired of race swap characters because it doesn't do anything to elevate the character. And then to add insult to injury, I posted a picture of Supergirl, like the actual picture of Supergirl. And then out of nowhere, motherfuckers tried to start giving me shit, trying to tell me about the whole thing with diversity and inclusion. I'm like, well, that's not how you do diversity and inclusion. By turning around and erasing what the original character looks like and then just repainting the skin, that's not how you do it. And and then to add insult to injury, I tried to tell this dude, like, look, if it's not selling, if the books don't sell, what makes you think that it's going to sell in the movies? Like, it's basic marketing 101. And then I had one dude try to come at that same guy about the whole thing with about Black Superman. Like, if dude not liking Black Superman, that makes you racist. I said, dude, I'm black and I really don't care for a Black Superman. What's the argument here? And then this one dude had the audacity to tell me, oh, you must hate yourself. A white kid said this shit. And I immediately went out my fucking body on that fucking dude. Because I told him, one, I happen to love myself, thank you very much. Two, do you really want to go down this fucking rabbit hole right now? Because we can go down this rabbit hole right now. Because if I didn't know any better, what you just said right now just sounded a little bit racist. I'm just saying.
I mean, it totally facetiously, like, I mean, that white kid obviously knew more about being a black person than you did, right? So
Right.
you just got white splained on what it's like to be a black guy.
For real, like,
by some
dude.
kid that lives in a suburb that's like never seen a black person and has this weird white guilt sense.
Oh my god, dude! For real, that's what I was like. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Did this white kid just try to tell me how to be black right now? Because last I checked, there really wasn't an instruction. There's really no manual on how to do that. I mean, granted, I've been living black I've been living as a black man for what, 36 years right now. I think I've been doing a pretty good fucking job of doing it. I think I've been doing a good job managing it. I'm just saying. I mean, you can tell me if I've been doing a shit job. If I've been doing a shit job of being a black man, please let me know.
I mean, you've done a better job than I could have, as far as I know. So I don't have any experience in it, so I'll have to take your word for it.
Oh god. Yeah, like, it's just like, and you know what? And this is the type of people that are writing these fucking comic books. Like, these are the type of motherfuckers that are, let alone writing some of these black characters.
Now, that kid probably wrote the Thor What If. Like,
oh my. Let me find out he did that so I can bitch slap the fuck out of him right now. And right before I bitch slap him, you know what I'm going to say? Hammer time.
Oh, but cause this is something that's always bothered me, all right, about Black Superman. Okay. Here on Earth, we know how black people came to be. It was fucking UV light, right? The people who moved further from the UV got less of it. They got paler. The people who stayed close to it got more of it. They were darker. Very simple. Red Sun Planet does not give off UV light, hardly any. Where the fuck are these dark-skinned Mexicans and black people supposed to come from on Kryptonite? On Krypton? You know,
not to mention, once he gets here, he absorbs it and turns it into power. It doesn't like his body clearly processes the sun's rays very, very different than normal human beings.
So it's like,
Also, yeah, it's all got to another argument that somebody posted of like I think a year, 2 years ago that if Calvin Elvis Superman were to fight Clark Kent Superman, he would beat the fuck out of him because he can absorb sunlight at an accelerated rate than Clark Kent.
well, at least there's science behind that.
Yeah. Yeah, I laughed at that because I was all like, bro, the fact that you added a lot of slides to that, I can't even be mad at you for that.
It makes sense, although Icon would still whoop that ass.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that, man. Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. I would rather see an Icon movie than a Black Superman movie,
Facts.
personally.
Facts.
Well, that's where it kind of comes down to it. It's like there's tons of great heroes. Explore those great heroes. Explore those other shows. And honestly, like I think you kind of part of what happens too that I think is really unfortunate is when you start trying to force these race swaps or sexuality swaps or gender swaps or whatever you want to say, like ultimately, a lot of those core characters that were bringing in a lot of revenue, like help support these other projects that you could be doing and you could be exploring and you could be funding. So when you cut off the funding by making a stupid decision, you actually hurt the other stories that you could have told.
Yep.
Well, consider this too in regards to comic book sales. You know, when Amanda and Jimmy were in charge of Harley Quinn, they were the second best-selling book in all of DC. And then they took them off and put on some woke writers, and then the series got canceled.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's the funny part is that you're not the only person that's pointed that out. I've heard another channel point that out too a while back.
And it's like, but they don't learn their lesson. They see their sales tank, and nobody ever says, okay, this type of writing doesn't work, or even just this isolated incident. They still haven't figured out that Amanda and Jimmy are key. Put them back on. They're still trying to put different writers on. It's like, dude, this isn't working.
No, because what it is, a lot of times the reason why their books don't sell is because of the fans. Immediately, their first instinct is to blame the fans.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of times that's what it comes down to is that when these writers write a book that does not sell, a lot of times they want to blame the fan base. And it's all like, no, it's not the fan base. It's because you're writing a shitty fucking book.
Well, when you look at like the Miss Marvel show that just came out, like the very first thing they said when it got any criticism whatsoever, justified or otherwise, was that, well, this wasn't basically like this wasn't for you or whatever. Like we didn't write this for you, or you know, you're just a racist or whatever. You don't believe in women empowerment, and it's like,
right?
No, you just had bad writing. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
You had like you just didn't do it well, and that's okay. Like it is okay that like people make mistakes or whatever, and it's kind of like back to the Miles Morales thing. Originally, they made mistakes. And they went, you know what? We want to change this. And they found a way through all their stuff and all their universes and combining stuff that they do to make it better.
Yeah, and that women empowerment argument is a fucking joke because it's like, if that's really the case, why is it that people still buy Wonder Woman? Or let's say you put a book with Storm in it. People are going to buy the fuck out that book.
Oh, dude, so you just reminded me of something because, like, this shit happened. Like, somebody came in, like what you're saying, with one of those just talking point replies, and it was about Captain Marvel. And he said something like, all these people are just afraid of strong women. And I'm like, dude, I own over 40 Wonder Woman pops. Strong women aren't my problem. Terrible robotic acting is.
Well, and like you said, like, this came up earlier too, is X-Men. X-Men is a perfect example of a comic book that is now potentially, you know, they're looking at renaming it something other than X-Men.
Yeah.
But the most powerful members of the X-Men team have been women pretty much the entirety of its existence.
Dude, facts.
Jean,
You know,
Storm, and Rogue. I mean,
Right.
yeah,
They mop
yeah,
the floor with every other member of the X-Men team.
like not even Wolverine would be able to fuck them up. Wolverine would get fucking murked by them.
you know, and all I can think of, I wish I knew how to like edit videos off of things because I want to get that scene from the X-Men 92 series where Storm says, "I'm proud to be an X-Men." And I just want that line over and over again just to repeat anytime this fucking argument comes up. Like, this is
Bro,
Storm and she's proud to be an X-Men. Quit your shit.
dude, fuck yeah, bro. I honestly, yeah, you know what? Once I get my computer fixed up, I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna start adding like more little clips like that, and just have them play like in the like just as an ad lib. You know what I mean?
Right? It's like how radio guys do it, those little sound effect things.
He's
Yeah,
gonna have a
Yeah.
soundboard of all the different highlight
yeah,
points.
dude.
He's just gonna have a
That's
separate keyboard that only he knows how to read.
yeah, bro. Exactly. I'm definitely down to do I'm definitely gonna like start doing that once I freaking get my laptop reimaged because that's really what I'm gonna have to do, which is no big deal. But whew. Sorry, I had to grab laundry. I had to grab some laundries because my girl's getting ready to go to work.
Actually, I gotta start getting ready for work too, so this would be a perfect time for me to jump off.
No
Gentlemen.
worries. Any final words?
No, man. It's been a pleasure. This was an absolute blast.
Yeah, I appreciate you having us on to talk with you, and I think it's been good conversation, and I've
Bro,
appreciated your guys' opinions, and I think it's good to have these healthy conversations. Like I think
Healthy.
man.
having conversations where we can talk, we can disagree on stuff. We disagreed quite a bit on stuff involving Falcon, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
great. Like I love it. I love it. I think this is what the kind of conversations that need to occur, not just in the comic book world, but just in general. Like
Yeah,
we need to get back to a place in this world where we can have a conversation that is respectful and open, and people allow themselves to hear the opposite side. So it's great.
bro. Exactly. And honestly, that was the point of me putting it together this panel, man. I didn't want to have it to where like everybody agrees on everything. I want to have it to where everybody can just, get their thoughts out, say what they gotta say, and be respectful and hear each other out. That's all it is at the end of the day, man.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to do this every Saturday. Don't matter, man. If y'all are down, just let me know. Y'all know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, right on, man.
And thank you to anybody who tuned in and gave us a couple minutes of your time. If you stayed for the whole thing, obviously that's great for Darkstar, and we appreciate your time.
Again, really appreciate you guys coming on. I'm gonna go ahead and give my little closing remarks, and then I'm going ahead and I'll go ahead and drop off. Yeah, again, it's been a pleasure having y'all on the show, man.
It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
being.
All right, let me go ahead and get my final words out real quick. All right, give me 1 minute. All right, so again, it was a good conversation. Appreciated everybody that's listening in. Again, I like having these comic book talks. I like having these little, not really so much debate, but having like a discussion. We can talk about different issues in comic books and stuff like that. And even it doesn't have to be just comic books. You can do anime, video games, shit like that. That's the point of my channel, is so that way, people can come in, say our thoughts, have our agreements, disagreements, and let's talk about it. We shoot the shit, talk about it. But yeah, again, I appreciate everybody that showed up. Appreciate the support. Again, please feel free to hit the subscribe, hit that like button, and definitely leave a comment in the comment section. I always read the comments. I always take every little bit of criticism and feedback that I get in my comment section. I take it to heart because again, I want to grow this channel. I want to go ahead and build a platform off this channel. So I mean, we can build a platform off it. Hey, let's do it. But again, I appreciate everybody that showed up. Till the next time, y'all be easy. This is your boy Darkstar, signing out. Peace.